Tiamat's Wrath. So as always, spoiler warning for anything that came before this book, especially for this book, because I'm going to definitely say a few things that are going to be spoilers for the previous books. So that's out of the way. Also, say it with me, everybody. Consistency and pacing. There is nothing better about these books than their consistency and their pacing. Not even the big blockbuster effect that I always talk about. Just that consistency. Just really, it just continues to just really impress. For lack of a better anything. Yeah. Okay. So in this book, our group is completely split up, especially, obviously after the events of the last book, which had Holden being basically kidnapped or taken into custody prisoner by Duarte. So Holden's off and missing, and he's MIA. Naomi is effectively the leader of the entire underground. The Rocinante's in hiding. Bobby's the captain of the Gathering Storm, piloted by Alex, and Amos is somewhere. We don't know where. He's just kind of off. Presumably on a mission, but we don't know what that mission is. And for the first time ever, Holden's not a point of view character. Like, not at all. That's not to say that he is completely absent from the book. There is another point of view character who's on the same planet as Holden, who will kind of pass him by occasionally. So he'll kind of float in and out of that person's point of view. So you get at least a gist of where he is and what he's doing and what's going on with Holden. So it's not like he just disappeared. But everything you see about Holden is from somebody else's point of view. So it's like an external, you see, so it's just different for the first time. He's not a POV character. It's a very different take on how to handle his character in particular. It's just different, which kudos to them. They're breaking their formula a little bit here. And I thought it worked quite well. I actually enjoyed. I really did. I thought it worked pretty darn good. Boy, I'm getting really over the top here. I'm hitting comfortably above where my vocals should be according to the experts. I should be whispering into the microphone. I feel like I should be doing some ASMR right now with what I've got going on here. Hold on. Anyway, so where was I? So with the way that this book picks up where the last book left off and really just goes for it, broke everybody up. What happened in the end of the last book is really carrying over into this book, and this book is basically like a direct follow up to the last one, which fixes a lot of my gripes about the previous books and how the consequences were ramped up, and then once the book was over, nothing mattered. The consequences of this book didn't affect the next book, and then that book wouldn't affect the next book. That being said, the problem from the last book that I had, which was the villain being completely OP, with it being a direct through line from these two books, this book really highlights and underscores that being a problem, because in this one, they just kind of normalize everything, and everything is back to being, oh, the bad guy is this, and they portray them as manageable in this book, which is kind of a drastic change from the last book and kind of neuters them, nerfs them, whatever you want to call it. When they bring them down to making them feel manageable, it really serves to highlight the fact that in the last book, their power level was kind of a problem, at least for me, it was. And granted, common sense dictates that you had to do something because we have two books, this one and the next one, and the series is over, and we still have a big bad that's been kind of hinted at, and we've been kind of dancing around since the beginning, and we're still waiting for them to kind of jump up and become something massive or become whatever that they are going to become. So we got to move this along. We got to get this enemy buttoned up, and whatever we're going to do to it, we got to get it done. We got to get them moved aside or dealt with or in a position where we can bring this other one in. And with them being in the over-the-top position that they were in the last book, it doesn't really lend itself to this series being wrapped up. So something had to give, I guess, is what I'm saying. It was only natural. So in this one, characters are pretty good, but I like the characters that they chose to use. I've said before that I liked Elvie, and she's back. I just thought the character work was done relatively well in this book compared to the other books, previous books, where I have complained a lot about character. It's not to say that the character work in this one was necessarily better than the other books, because I haven't been a huge fan of the character work in any of this at all. But it's more like when you set the bar so low, it's not hard to exceed that level. And in conjunction with the fact that there's not necessarily any characters in this book that I absolutely hate. Also, this all goes together. There's a few character beats, two in particular. Field one's a little predictable the way it's set up, and the other one's really going to come right out of left field and kind of smack you over the head. And both of them I thought were good character beats, and both of them I thought were handled and done quite well. So when you wrap all that up, I was more satisfied with the character work in this than probably any other book other than the first one. Now, all that being said, there's always that big blockbuster feeling, and this one doesn't let you down there, and it's really starting to ramp up. And of course it is, because we are on book 8 of a 9-book series, and I'm assuming, I'm not there yet, but I am assuming that the next book is really gonna, I hope, take that one to the next level. I mean, I would like that. For the end of a series. Honestly, this oh, what's the right word I'm looking for? Oh, series this, not dramatic, theatrical? Nah, not a good word. But nevertheless, that big blockbuster feeling is ever present, and it's still there, and it's still done just as wonderfully as it has been up until this point. And I appreciate that just as much as I appreciate the consistency and the pacing, although I think the consistency and the pacing is more impressive. So anyway, this book is definitely, we're still not back up to up into the 7 range, although this is definitely a step up. I would say we're definitely moving in the right direction. Okay, but when I rate this, I actually probably complimented this book more than most books that I have reviewed in this series. And I would say that it falls at a 6.5, and that probably doesn't sound very consistent with all the praise that I just gave it. But I also have some pretty big issues with the climax of this book, because it just feels really... it like they could just kind of fly in and everything. They just kind of do it all with zero consequences or blowback, or it was too easy. The end of this was way too easy. There should have been at least a little bit of struggle. So without spoiling the ending, it was a little easy. It was a little too convenient, which drug the whole thing down for me. Anyway, that being said, we are definitely moving in the right direction. And I'd say overall, this book falls at a solid 6.5 for me.